What's up everyone, Morey Croson here, and today we're going to be going over foot mechanics when you're sprinting, and we're going to start the video right now. This is the newest edition of the Performance Lab.
Reach your individual goals.
You don't want to just talk about straight line speed. We also want to talk about your ability to be quick. We break down your video.
Let's make you into the quarterback I know you can become.
All right, so I might make this into like a 2, 3, 5, 10-part series just because there's so much that goes on within the foot. And, I think a lot of times we can get mistaken by, thinking that the body works in like segments, but in reality, it's all one big thing that's working simultaneously with each other. And so, and we'll put up a little picture here of all the different ligaments, all the different muscles that are, acting on the foot when we're running. And based off of, how you're pushing off within the foot, it creates an entire chain effect that goes all the way up your legs, into your hips, into your spine, into all the different parts of your body. So there's a lot of sensory receptors that are in your spine that go all the way down into your legs and everything. But the main thing that ends up having a big impact here is how you're landing with your foot, and what muscles and ligaments and tendons are you utilizing within your foot to help you in being able to then access the right parts of your body to help you run fast, right? And help you run better and help you have better control as you're actually going through and running. And what happens, and for me, I've had a couple ankle sprains in my right ankle as I've been playing. So, my right ankle is a little bit deformed, right? It's not how it used to be. And I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something that is, right? I don't want you guys to think that just because, you have like an injury or something that you still can't accomplish your goals. You just have to be able to understand how that creates different types of opportunities and different types of limitations as you move forward. And so, getting into the actual running mechanics, and this is going to be more for sprinting, I will say. I do think runners could watch this as well, if you're a long distance runner, and still get a lot of great information, because I'm going to go deep into, how your foot ends up being such a huge part of being able to, run, sprint, decelerate, whatever. It ends up being the only part of your body that's in touch with the ground. So you have to have a great relationship with, what's going on within your feet in order to continue to excel. We're going to get the bat view here to start. And, one of the things that I saw when watching Usain Bolt run is that he gets this plantar flexion right before. There's a lot of people that talk about you want to have dorsiflexion, as you're hitting the ground. But in reality, which is when that foot is kind of facing upwards, the plantar flexion is when your toe or the toes are below the heel, where dorsiflexion is if the toes are even with the heel or above, right? So I'm in a dorsiflex position here, but then as my foot hits the ground, I get into a plantar flex position, okay? And that's really important, especially for sprinters, because it helps with the foot contact time. We know that when it comes to running, we have to be very, very quick with the time spent on the ground, and understanding how to do that is really by getting plantar flexion when your foot is actually hitting the ground. Now, when your foot hits the ground too, you want to be able to maintain a fairly straight position within the knee, and really be able to control this landing, right? So you can see I'm not going through very much knee bend here, and that's something that you really want to be able to work to try to improve overall, right? And I'm only going to go over my right foot here just because I think there's a ton of information that we can go into. And again, we'll probably do more than one part here. As long as you guys like the video, you like the information, we'll keep this going. So I'm absorbing through that ankle, absorbing through the knee, absorbing through the foot. And then as I transition, I really, want to spend the least amount of time with my foot flat as I can, right? So you can see as I transition my weight onto that right leg, onto that front leg, my heel comes close to the ground, touches the ground, and then immediately I'm trying to get my weight to come right back up off the ground. I'm not going full speed here. I'm trying to, make it so we can get a good video, but you can see I'm getting right up onto my toes, and then I'm pushing off. I wish I had more flexibility here. I will say this is something that, you'd want to be able to focus on, and being able to better push my toes back behind my heel, more effective plantar flexion, right? As I'm going through, I want to be able to push back with that big toe to really be able to get as much of a push out as I can, and then immediately going right back into dorsiflexion where I'm driving my toe back forward and through, okay? Now, when my foot's hitting the ground, there's a ton of different ways from this back angle. There's a ton of different ways of how this is going to end up happening, right? So you can see I get into this plantar flexion and I land, and as soon as my foot hits the ground, my body's going into a rapid response for deceleration. How can I control this movement? There's a lot of different ways people do it. You can see for me, I end up getting a good amount of what's called pronation within that foot, within that ankle. So my ankle's kind of collapsing inwards or coming inwards. It's normal. We see a lot of people that do that. You know, there's supination, which is where your foot ends up going more on the outside, and then there's pronation where your foot kind of comes more to the inside. And so I'm going through pronation here, and as that's happening, what that does is that makes it so now there's going to be a big part of like the inside part of my muscles that are going to be acting at this time, which will then make it so then when I push off, I'm going to be shifting more of my weight to the outside and making it so now I'm using more of the lateral muscles to generate force. This isn't necessarily the best way to be able to do it, but you know, there's a ton of different, you know, just because I do it like this doesn't mean I'm limited in what my performance could be or what my max potential could be, or you know, that I am building myself up for, you know, perfect success, right? Everybody's going to be a little bit different here, and you know, there's got to be at least 30, 35 ligaments within your foot, and each one of them have to be acting as your foot hits the ground. So you have to be very, very aware. That's why I'm running with no shoes on here, because you got to be very aware of what's happening and how that's transitioning into, you know, your push off, right? Because I'm, to the best of my ability, I'm trying to push straight off. But you can see I'm a little bit kind of transitioning my weight to, so my foot's pushing like inside a little bit here, right? So you can see how that ends up happening. My toes, my foot, everything is kind of facing this way a little bit as I'm pushing off. So point being though is we can see that deceleration. You really want to be able to understand how your foot's starting to decel if you're going into more of a, you know, pronated position, if you're able to maintain a neutral position, or if you're going more to a supinated position. So then you could set yourself up with different exercises to either build off of that, kind of correct that, you know, make it so you're able to utilize some of those parts of your movement to be able to help you improve and really just take the steps in the direction to make overall progress within your running form, running technique. All right, here we're gonna go onto the right leg, and you know, I'm not perfectly set up here, but we can see again now from the front view, you know, as your foot's hitting the ground, now I'm going into a slight amount of plantar flexion, and you can see as my foot hits, I go into a little bit of that plantar flexion, right? My ankles start to bend, but everything wants to be very controlled here. There's gonna be movement happening, right? We'll go a little bit on the left side too, just because of that angle. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's happening here, right? So my left side, I go through a little bit more of like a rotation in the heel. And you know, what you want to be able to do, what you want to stay away from, right, is you want to stay away from any massive collapsing. You also want to stay away from your feet facing too far to the outside. There's some sprinters that, you know, can get away with a good amount of, you know, your foot facing off to the side, but it wants to be, you know, controlled. You don't want to have your foot facing too much to the side, or else that will negatively impact how much force you're going to be able to generate into the ground. You want to have your feet facing pretty much straight ahead. They can be slightly turned out to the side, but you know, then when your foot hits the ground, you want to be very controlled. And again, you know, you want to make sure that that foot and that knee ends up keeping a fairly straight position. You don't want to have too much knee bend there. And we also want to make sure that as our foot's hitting the ground, we're pulling the foot back underneath us, so it's landing as close to right underneath our body as we possibly can, or right underneath our hips as we possibly can, right? So you can see my foot here, my hip here. We want to be able to make that so it's as close to straight as we can. You're really not going to be able to probably get there, but understanding that that ends up being an important part of this allows you to be able to set yourself up for success. And I would say, you know, the more you can do barefoot type of running, you know, warm up, sprinting drills, things like that with just, you know, socks on or without, you know, shoes or socks, will help you in being able to better feel this stuff out, and will make it so now, you know, your ligaments and tendons and muscles will be able to get stronger. And you know, I think there's a lot of people that suffer from speed issues because they don't know how to utilize their feet and utilize their ankles. It's such a critical part, like I said before, in being able to excel. And so, you know, you got to be able to balance. You got to be able to understand how to land on one leg and how to push off on one leg, and just be able to control movement when you're on one leg. If you end up going and, you know, losing control of your foot, losing control of your ankle during these critical phases, right, during that landing phase when your foot is hitting the ground, it's going to make it so it's a lot more difficult for you to be able to really create a lot of force. You have to be able to slow down in order to be able to speed up, right? And what I mean by that is, like, if you build yourself up to be able to, you know, throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, this is the case for a lot of people actually, where you can throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, but your body can only decelerate an 80-mile-an-hour fastball, you're not going to be able to throw over 80. right? You're going to be stuck at 80 miles an hour until you build up the deceleration to be able to control the movement pattern. It's the same type of thing with sprinting. If you do not build up the muscles to be able to slow down, right, you could have all the forcing you want. We see guys that I get people that reach out to me all the time. I squat this much, I jump this high, I'm able to do this, whatever, but I can't run fast, right? I have issues with my sprinting. It's because you don't have the muscles and the understanding of the deceleration of your brain, your spine. Your body doesn't know how to decelerate, how to actually control all the force that you're able to create. And because of that, it makes it so now you create a plateau of how much force that you're able to generate or create. So you have to understand, and going into your foot and into your ankle will make it so then you can start to control the movement pattern, which will now make it so then you can accelerate better and, get to your top end speed more effectively. Because most of the time, when we talk, and I talk about this all the time, when you're starting, right, you have to be able to have great start mechanics in order to get to, a great drive phase, which will then make it so you can effectively get to your top end speed, right? So when I'm going and I'm working on my sprinting, I'm very, very aware of how I'm going through my start and my drive to make it so I get to my best top end speed. I could run, 10 reps at top speed, right, quote unquote top speed, but only 1 or 2 of them will really be, my best speed. Really only 1 of them will be my best speed. Sometimes, you get 2 within that 10 that are at the same miles per hour. I have the curve so I can see exactly what my miles per hours are. But there's a lot of them that I go through and it's below what those and it doesn't have anything to do with my fatigue, right? I spend time resting. It doesn't have anything to do, I wasn't stronger on one and weaker on another. A lot of times as I go through, I actually get better because I could start watching my technique and my form and see what I'm doing incorrectly. And, so as I go through, it a lot of times has to do more with my drive phase, right? How I'm building myself up to then get to my top end speed. So within one race, that's why when Usain Bolt ran that 9.5, it was such a beautiful performance because he did such a great job from beginning to end, right? But he only did it one time. He ran all those, races, and we talk about genetics and how gifted and blah, blah, blah. Well, he only ran 9.58 one time, right? At least in a racing situation. He ran hundreds of races, right? But he only ran 9.58 one time. So it's not always about genetics. It's not always about top speed. It's not always about, being able to have any type of gift. It's about being able to build yourself up and understanding exactly how to go through your start, how to go through your drive, how to get to your top end speed, and how to do that every single time, day in and day out, and making it so you're able to get better with that every single day. So that is what the big focus is on here with our program, is like, how can we go through every part of the sprint to be able to maximize your mechanics to make sure that you're generating the most amount of force on every step, able to control your deceleration, able to make significant progress over a 3-month period of time, and do that over and over and over again. Repeat that over and over and over again. Once you start to get the foundations and the fundamentals for how your body moves, now you could really start to be able to make significant progress. But a lot of people are trying to get faster and really don't understand how their body works, and that's why you end up hitting plateaus. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to cut it myself off here. But if you like the information, click that thumbs up down below. Subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, you can leave those down below. And check out our speed program, guys. I highly recommend it. The more I've working on my sprinting, the better I've been able to get helping you guys. I've also been working with a lot of different athletes, baseball, football, track, and by being able to see what works and what doesn't work, it gives me the opportunity to be able to help you guys make more improvements faster. And I think at the end of the day, you have to have consistency, right? So in my programs, I like to make it so you have something to do every single day so you can show up at a certain time and get something done, right? It's not always going to be crazy hard workouts. It's not going to always be super explosive or anything like that. It's going to be something that makes it so you can always get better. You can always go and take a step in the right direction. And I think working on, just like this is how I'm running like 60%, working on your landing, working on being able to control your feet, working on, connecting to your toes makes it so now when I get to my top end speed stuff, I'll already have some of those fundamentals down. So yeah, as always, thanks for watching. Check out the description, check out some of our programs, or get a breakdown or something to be able to help you guys out. We're in 2022 now. You're running out of time. So let's get better, let's get after it, and looking forward to hearing from you and talking to you soon. Thanks for watching.